Get ready with me while I tell you the conception story of my album, Somebody Call the Firemen. So this all starts in December of 2021, where I very publicly had a mental breakdown. I literally went into some sort of psychosis that was induced by use, and it was atrocious. It took months to get my body back to a normal place. And I think one of the things that I felt the most during that period of time was just so much fear, so much. I was so scared, and I've always been someone who has never ever let fear bother me in that way. I've never felt deterred by being afraid of something. But this time, oh my God, it was like I was constantly in a horror movie. And a lot of it had to do with coming to terms and trying to work through just as much trauma as possible. I was really bullied in school. That's obviously not a surprise to anybody. And of course, as a normal person, I didn't handle it well. I also think as a kid, I was very loudmouthed and opinionated. I still am now, but I know when to shut my mouth, and when I was younger, I did not. But it led to a lot of failed friendships, a lot of specifically failed female friendships, and it was very hard for me to find really close friends for a really long time. I know they look terrible right now, but y'all gotta trust the process. And so because of that, when I moved to LA, it was partially me running away from my hometown and being I'm never going back to that place, and this is my life now, and whatever. Obviously that doesn't change anything. You take your problems with you. And that's kind of what I was confronted with when I had said breakdown, was nothing was different. And in particular, this was triggered a lot by a group of friends that I had, who, long story short, went through many fallouts, lots of drama. It was really stupid. And I had restarted Pretty Little Liars to kind of cope with this. And I was watching it, and I was wow, this is so reflective of my life and the jealousy that these women feel towards each other. Where the fuck is my pencil sharpener? This is gonna irritate me. I'm already irritated. My computer will not function right, and then on top of this, I can't find my sharpener. Oh, this pisses me off bad. Of course, it's at the bottom of my bag. And I was watching it, and I was this is kind of crazy. I feel kind of inspired by this. So I started writing a song, and I started a song called 2. And 2 came out this summer with the rest of my album, but it was the first song that I wrote for the album with the intention of writing an album. And that was kind of the first stone I threw at trying to deal with so many of my issues. And originally I wanted to do a concept album based off of Pretty Little Liars with Somebody Call the Firemen. But the more time I spent with it, and the more time I spent working through my own shit, the more I was I need to write an album that is about me in the truest sense. Because I also have this fear that if I were to ever really get big as an artist, that the pattern will repeat and the curse will be revealed, and nobody will like me then either, which is an impossible task to avoid feeling, simply because the industry is very good at making you believe you're going to be one thing and then delivering you as another. And so I was okay, if I write an album about everything that I'm insecure about with myself, I'm kind of telling on myself in a way. If I ever were to get really, really big and all of a sudden was at a level of famous that is uncontrollable and people hate me, it's kind of I already told you why you should. here's everything that I don't like about myself that you can embrace, but I've decided I'm gonna write it out. So I did. I like wrote a song about my jealousy and my obsession with being better and perceived as like really cool and perceived as interesting and funny, because I don't think I'm any of those things. I wrote about my hometown, and I wrote about struggling to accept what's happening in my life, and accept like that there will never be a version of myself that ever could have existed in my hometown. That was a very hard thing to come to. And the first time I ever used the title Somebody Call the Firemen, I actually was like I was really baked. And I texted Lily, who produced this album with me, and I think we were like 2 or 3 songs into the creation of this record, and I was like, this record's gonna be called Somebody Call the Firemen. It's a direct reference to my song Apollo, which has the line I light fires in the 630, which is the area code of Chicagoland. And somebody needs to call the firemen to put out the fires that I light in the 630. I started the album in 2022, and I put it out this summer, July of 2025. I started it in May of 2022. And that's the origin story. It is 8 tracks. Every song it like came from the depths of my soul. And yeah. Fun fact, I was like maybe 4 or 5 songs into writing Somebody Call the Firemen when we were finishing my previous EP called Unhappy. And there's a song on Unhappy called Dead that I actually had written with the intention of putting it on Somebody Call the Firemen, but my team at the time had wanted me to have a 6-song EP, and I felt like Somebody Call the Firemen and its themes were a bit too sophisticated for the Unhappy era music, because that music is definitely a bit more lively and unstructured than the rest of the music. But if you listen to it, I put Dead in my live set lists all the time, especially with recording and like playing this album. Like I did an album release show in August of this year. Again, you have to trust the process on this. Like, please trust me. I always have it, one, because my band and I just like absolutely devour every time we play this song, and it is so fun. And a lot of people like don't know it when they know me and my music, because they know like the bigger songs like Cherry Bomb and Nevermind and Orange, but they don't know that one. And it always like really throws people off when I'm like, sometimes I'm better off dead. And they're like, whoa, like, do you need a psychiatrist? And I'm like, no, girl, I saw her last week and she loves this song. And yeah, that's the story of Somebody Call the Firemen, and why I did things the way that I did, and why it sounds the way that it sounds. And you should go listen to it if you've never heard my music before, and you watch this whole thing. That would be so cool to like know if the context I provided helped you actually like aspire to listen to it. And yeah, this is what it looks like in better lighting.